Now, I've heard some pretty weak excuses for toxic behaviour in my time, and bear in mind I work on YouTube, so I've heard lots of them, but I was being controlled by my brother / dead mother / malfunctioning emotion ship / cosmic entity / digitised soul of a dead crewmate really takes the flipping cake. Anyway, that incredible intro aside, my name is Adam Cleary, and these are the 10 worst things Data has ever done. Before we start though, just want to say, just a bit of fun this, isn't it? Just a bit of fun. Data's probably my all-time, third favourite character in all of Star Trek. I love him to bits. It's just, God, they wrote some horrible things for him to do, didn't they? Anyway, number 10, his attempts at comedy. Granted, this was one of those early attempts to flesh out Data and push the character forward. You remember, Tasha Yar using him as a 6-foot vibrator, but Christ, Data's comedy. While the ship deals with the arrival of Mr. Okano, yes, him from Lower Decks, Data decides it's a wise move to expand his repertoire on the comedy circuit. While it doesn't put anyone into physical danger, and lol, we'll get to plenty of that, Data mauls joke after joke after joke. The jiggly-armed routine in 10 Forward, the oversized cigar on the holodeck, it's like watching a Michael McIntyre clip while you're having a colonoscopy go in through your eyes. Oh, sorry, what's that? Oh, most of our audience is American, and that gag won't land. Okay, let me just really quickly Google their most tragic comedy act, and... yes, Kanye West. Number 9, Violating the Prime Directive. So, Data once spent 8 weeks communicating with a young girl called Sarjenka or something on Derma 4 before he decides it's time to tell Picard. That is 2 whole of your Earth months before he goes to ask the captain if he could violate the Prime Directive and intervene with the natural progression of a planet. Which isn't of course terrible in itself. Picard is of course free to say, no you idiot, of course we can't, but this invariably leads to a plea for help, thus forcing his hand. The Enterprise then has to enact some distinctly off-the-books activities to complete the mission and rescue Data's little pen pal. Before of course he makes her a load of wild, crazy promises about getting to stay on the Enterprise without a single consideration for the literal laws of the Federation. Right, okay, yes, this was a planet-sized disaster in the end, but the digital dipstick here got himself in way too deep. Number 8, lol. The Offspring is a superlative episode of The Next Generation. Yet, when you put it into the context of Data's decision-making and personal mental development, his thinking is absolutely deranged. He builds a child for himself, incidentally one of the greatest scientific achievements in history by the way, without telling a single soul that he so much as considering it. Mapped from Data's own positronic net, Lal soon begins to outgrow the original programming. Not just in the formation of contractions within her language, but later, the emergence of real emotion. Ignoring the implications of this in favour of just going, oh, isn't it nice, there's now a little version of him and it's in a dress, the crew are content to let this all unfold. Naturally, it all goes badly wrong as Lal can't handle the speed of all this, has an enormous cascade failure and gets deactivated. The tragedy here is that the crew understandably become emotionally attached to Lal as they aid in her development. Thus, when it comes to her death, they're all utterly heartbroken while Data pretty much just shrugs and gets on with a new hobby. Number 7, attempted murder. In The Most Toys, Data is acquired by collector Kivas Farjo, who is obsessed with unique items. Obviously, missing the memo on lore, he values Data as a prized possession and fakes his death to steal him away from the Enterprise. The guy, as well as being a thief, is a complete monster, and after already threatening to do it to force Data's compliance, actually kills his oldest companion during an attempted escape. Data picks up the weapon, allegedly one of the scariest in the galaxy, even though it just does the exact same thing as a Starfleet phaser set on full, and demands Farjo release him. Ha! He says, an empty threat coming from an emotionless android who feels nothing for the death of an innocent woman. Do you plank of wood? You feel nothing at all, no feelings. Knock knock, who's there? Data, the big numb dummy who categorically won't murder me in cold blood because he's dead inside. Ha ha ha! Smash cut then to the Enterprise's transporter room where, having rescued Data at that exact second, O'Brien remarks to Riker that there's a weapon in transport with him and it appears to have gone off. Oh no, how could that possibly have happened? Look at those eyes when he steps off that pad. Look at him lie to Commander Riker's face that it must have been an accident. Those are the cold, dead eyes of a killer. Number 6, he nearly kills a child. In Brothers, Data yet again is controlled to take the Enterprise to a backwater planet to meet its creator, Dr. Noonien Soong. No harm, no foul, you'd think, just the hijacking of an intergalactic spaceship with thousands of people on board, but oh no, they were literally in the middle of taking a sick child for emergency treatment after the little divvy ate some deadly berries. The episode makes it very, very clear that this child will die if he doesn't receive the vital treatment. Small potatoes to Data though, who shuts the ship down, creates the mother of all security passwords, and then escapes to the planet. At no point during the next part of the story, while he is engaged with Soong and party crasher Law, does he even make reference to the emergency situation aboard the Enterprise. Now, someone in the comments will point out that admittedly there wasn't anything he could have done about it at this point, but the lack of concern, the lack of urgency, the lack of any acknowledgement that he doomed some random child to wither away and die while he was doing this. Number 5, he breaks a crewmate's heart just for the crack. Now, I'm definitely going to have at least one ex-girlfriend responding to this by pointing out I have no room to talk, but Data gets involved with a work colleague, causing no end of emotional turmoil, purely to see what happens, because he thinks it'd be funny or something. In the case of Ensign Jenna Desora, he decides the best way to understand romantic relationships is to be in one, and by be in one, he provides zero emotional support and stamps all over her heart. Lads, eh? The poor girl is on the rebound and down bad when she comes onto him, so he writes some algorithms to romance her, smooch her up a bit, and even one for a blazing row. She eventually comes to her senses and breaks it off, but not after going through the ringer with it for the majority of the episode. Anyway, fun fact, when the Borg Queen asks Data in First Contact when the last time he got his hole was, he references the Stardate where, as I've mentioned, Tasha Yar uses him as a 6-foot dildo, so at least this didn't go as far as it might have. Number 4, he stabs Deanna Troi. Now I don't normally do this, but I'm not going to provide any context here. If you've seen the episode Phantasms, then you know the circumstances that led to Data poking his dear friend full of holes, but if you haven't, I kinda don't want to ruin that for you here, so devoid of any explanation, here are some mitigating factors. Geordi answering Data's stomach telephone, a mining crew digging their way through the Enterprise, Troi being served for someone's birthday party, and Dr. Crusher finally taking Will Riker up on his claims that he would, and I quote, give her something to suck on. Now just go watch it. Number 3, the emotion chip. While its change in shape, size, and functionality might be contentious issues among Star Trek fans, the biggest one, surely, is that Data chose to stick it in his head in the first place. Not knowing what it'll do or how it'll react, he completely alters his psychological makeup right in the middle of a crucial life and death mission. Invariably, it all goes horribly wrong, and just like last time he started messing about with emotions, it leads to his alleged best friend Geordi LaForge being captured, imprisoned, and brutally tortured. Whoops! I won't even mention that as a direct result of him experiencing fear for the first time, the Duras sisters are able to stick a camera in Geordi's visor, giving them the shield frequency to the Enterprise, allowing them to ultimately destroy it, and no doubt killing countless crew members in the process, although technically yes, I have just mentioned that there. Anyway, in between cracking dad jokes, he tries to bitch out of the mission, but Picard won't let him because, well, 230 million people are going to die if they don't stop punk Steve Martin here from destroying a star. What a guy! Number 2, 0.86 seconds. Captured by the Borg aboard the Enterprise E, Data has the aforementioned emotion chip forcibly reactivated and is placed at the mercy of the Borg Queen. Utterly powerless and in the belly of the beast, Data is tempted with human flesh and to ultimately sit at the side of the Queen herself as an equal to rule the collective. Apparently she wanted to do this with Locutus, but Data was always the better choice, yada yada, etc, and have I ever mentioned how handsome you are? He, and this is just an assumption on my part, although it is heavily implied, gets forcibly brought to orgasm and decides to switch sides, only for it all to be revealed as a ruse in the movie's climax and save the day. However, he does admit to Picard that he was actually tempted to, let me just check my notes here, destroy humanity just for a bit of skirt for 0.86 seconds. Just to clarify, he was actually considering that. I don't think that gets brought up enough by Star Trek fans, to be completely honest. Might have only been for a fraction of a second, but he was going to do that. He was going to do it. Data was going to kill. The future of the galaxy was over because Data. No, we just let that go. Number 1, torturing his best friend. Sort of already mentioned this one, but it does kind of bear repeating, doesn't it? Captured by the Borg, Law has his brother perform a load of horrifying experiments on his alleged best friend. Is he controlling him? Yes, I guess, but how often does that excuse really wash? It applies to half this list. Neutralizing LaForge's pain receptors, Data inserts nano-cortical fibers into his head with the intention of destroying his existing brain cells. While it may well look like he's setting up for a game of Kerplunk in his head, he's actually planning on using the engineer's cranium, that's the really important bit, to see if he can build an artificial neural net to take over his cognitive functions. Chances of survival, a rosy 40%. Of course, it's all forgotten about and washed over in a matter of seconds at the end of the episode, but viewers must be right in thinking, is there not some trauma here? Is there not some deep-seated psychological problem Geordi would have as a result of this? Would you not transfer one of them off the ship because of what happened? No? Well, at least Geordi learned his lesson though, didn't he? About not getting tortured, but oh yes. Oh dear. Oh no. Oh well.